Today we're going to change the spark plugs in a 2007 Mazda CX-9. Okay, so the first step in the manual, it says disconnect the negative battery cable. And so that's the first step we want to do. We want to disconnect the negative, so that's the black one, one that's not red. Okay, so we're going to disconnect that. What I've also done, I've gone ahead and opened up the gas tank. We want to release any pressure within the gas tank. Okay, so I'm going to take a 10 millimeter hex, and I'm going to remove the battery. I'm just going to remove the negative cable and just set it aside. The step is to remove the engine cover. Okay, so the engine cover is this guy. Okay, so we're going to do that. And that's going to be our next step. So to do that, we're going to need to remove the this cap and then pull from the back first. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove the oil cap slowly. Again, it's a little hot. I recommend that you take the cap and put it somewhere safe on a table. What we're going to do is we're going to lift straight up. We're going to start from here, from the back. Lift straight up so that no debris gets pulled into the engine. You don't want any debris going into the oil. Okay, take it and take the cover and set it aside. So to prevent any debris from going into the engine, I put the oil cap back on. Okay, and the next step that we're going to do is we're going to remove the mass airflow sensor. Okay. Now, in order to remove it, there's a little red cap at the bottom underneath. What you got to do is slide that back, and then you can squeeze the top and pull it off. Okay. So we're going to be very careful with this. You can squeeze and pull it, and pop it right off. Okay. So that's what it looks like. Your red tab, I don't know if you can see it. It's zoom in a little bit. That's what it looks like. Okay, right here. So I've pulled the red tab towards me, and I've squeezed and pulled it out. Okay, so now we can just set that aside. We're going to remove this component from. I'm going to pull off here. I'm pulling off the mass airflow sensor. Okay, and then I'm going to flip these clips. There's a couple clips here. Okay, so I've removed this hose clamp. It just slides out. It's a press fit here. I don't know if you can see it. It's on the side of the air cleaning system. So after I remove the clips here, okay, actually remove the mass airflow sensor. Loosen these clips. This guy is free except for we have to remove this hose clamp, okay? And then there's something else we have to do in the back. See that hose in the back there? We have to remove that to remove the whole air cleaner system. Okay, so what we need to do is there's I don't know if you see that bolt in the back there, behind there. We have to actually unscrew that whole vent line assembly, the air cleaner assembly. So there's a bolt right there that we need to remove in order to take the system out. So in order to get access back there, probably easier to actually remove the whole battery so that we can get a wrench. Okay, so we have these it was in here. There's little hooks here, the hook into the side, and you just basically loosen them. The hooks come out, and then you can remove these hooks. Just take this and put it somewhere safe. Okay, so now we can actually remove the battery. Set this aside. You're going to take the battery out. Just lift up and out. Okay, so I've removed, see here, this one's right out. Okay, all right, and you can see the throttle body right there. It looks pretty clean. Okay, so we got that. Okay, so next we're going to move on to the next. Okay, so next what we're going to do is beside the cap, there's a hose clamp that we need to remove. Basically what we're going to do, there's a little gray tab at the top. You're going to push it up and then push it to the right and then remove the hose clamp. Okay, it's the one right by the cap for the engine oil. Okay, so if we zoom out a little bit, it's just that hose clamp there. Okay. Okay, so with all those parts removed, we should now be able to remove the entire air cleaner assembly. So we're gonna lift it up this way. Okay, lift it this way because there's a little latch on this side, and then pull it up. So we've got an entire air cleaner assembly. Basically in one piece. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove these spark plugs, these three on this side because it's easy to get to. To remove them, what you need to do is pop these red tabs down. You see how there's a little red a spot where you can fit like a little tiny screwdriver. You can push that in and then it'll make pushing these down a little bit easier. Okay. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, but I've popped with this push down here and then pop these guys down. You need two hands to do it. And then these, so we're going to remove the coils here. Okay. So that's what we did. We popped this guy down, pop this guy down, pop this guy down. And we remove the coils. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to unscrew these hex nuts, and then we can remove the coils. Okay, I'm going to do that next. Push it in, push it down, and pull. Okay, this one came up. Wow, lots of dirt. Keeps the tabs from coming out. Okay, so now we've got pretty clear. Okay, so now we're going to remove the coils. Just go ahead and loosen. Okay. Okay, and the rest I can probably pull out by hand. Nice and slow. Okay, yeah, it's just gotta pull. Okay, just make sure there's no oil inside. If there is, then we have a problem. Okay, so there's no oil. I'm gonna take this and just put it on the table. Okay, so now I've just pulled the last one out. Okay, check for any oil inside, and it doesn't seem like there's anything in there, so we look to be in good shape. And now we're going to remove the spark plugs, and we need a spark plug removal tool. I'm going to go and grab that and be right back. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is pull, this is a 5/8 spark plug removal tool at the end here. What I want to do is lock this guy up. Put it inside, get the pop, you can hear the pop, and by hand I'm going to crack the spark plugs and slowly remove them. Just my screwdriver here. Okay. It didn't come out with the spark plug though. So I need to go in. Sometimes you just gotta make do with tools you have. Alright, so spark plug these out. And then pull them out. I'm going to put the new spark plugs in one by one and just hand tighten them for now. And then we're going to torque them to spec with a torque wrench. Plug in and just ever so gently tighten it in, just by hand until it's snug. It in, put in place. Second spark plug in the front. These are the easy ones to put in. And just go slowly. Don't cross thread anything. Be very careful until it's tight. I'm going to torque them after. Just want to put them in, make sure it's threaded properly, no cross threading. That would be really bad. Okay, go in. Spark plug, be very careful. It says here tightening torque is 9 to 20 Newton meters for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go get a torque and just torque them down to from 9 to 20 Newton meters. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to grab the tool and come back. Okay, so basically you just put your tool, set it to 14 foot-pounds of torque, or 14 Newton meters actually, and then go until it clicks. Basically, you'll hear it click or you'll feel it click when it hits 14. There we go. You see the click? Okay, now I'm just putting the coils back in now. So just slide them back in. And I'm going to put the bolts back on. Okay. I put the bolts back in, do my hand at first, and then just tighten them. Okay, now we're just going to reinstall all the coils and put the red clips back in. Hear the click, and you can push it. Okay, so now we're removing. I loosened these screws, and now we're going to remove. There's one at the bottom underneath the throttle body, and then there's 4 around it. So we're going to take that to remove the connection. I'm going to take a picture here of what I'm doing next. Very careful. Loosen them up and then pull them out by hand. So I crack them with just a regular wrench. Just going to loosen them, back them out slowly. Okay, now we can remove the blue clamp. I'm going to take a picture of it here. Just use a flathead screwdriver and remove this blue clamp. You just go in, stick it behind, you pop it just a little bit forward, and then once it comes forward, you can remove. It doesn't come out completely, it just comes out. Take a quick picture of it here. Okay, turn it off. Okay, and then this comes right off. Once this is off, this comes off easily. Okay, there's a support bracket behind the manifold that we have to remove. So I need a long extension. I think it's 8mm. So I'm going to use my wrench. Use one of my longer adapters here. Remove that 8mm bolt. It looks like it's 8mm, but it may not be. Okay, we're now going to remove the 8mm bolts on the intake manifold. Okay, let me see if I can get a better shot of it. Okay, let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, there's a bolt here underneath. Bolt here. There's another one here. There's another one right here. Okay, so we're going to start removing them. Okay, loosen that one. Now we have two more here. This is the long one. This is a longer one. It's from the top. Keep that labeled. And now we have. So I just squeezed underneath and popped. There's a wire loom clip here. I'm going to try to show you the other one. There's another one here that we need to remove. I'm going to see if I can. So what I did was I just went underneath. I squeezed. Squeeze and then pulled up. Okay, I did it. Just squeeze and pull. That's it. That one came off. And I noticed that there's another. Okay, I'm going to remove the Torx here. This would have been much easier had I known that I could do this than removing the entire hose. Torque wrench back here, but unfortunately can't really do that. There's just enough room to get your hand back here, your arms. Okay, so I'm gonna go in fast to see if the part will just come off now or not. See if there's any other screws that mount this. Nope, it's off. Okay. Now, okay, I'm gonna leave the part here because there's another wire as far out of the engine as possible. Now, see, this guy's in the way. I don't know if I should remove him or not. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but I'm gonna remove. There's a second screw in the back over here that basically needs to come out. Being able to remove this guy from our way. I can't really remove the manifold completely because there's one line that's connected to the brake booster. It's very tough to okay, now we can get started with the removal of the coils. Okay, what I've done, I put a shop rag, not type of rag, just a rag here, on top of the intakes. Okay, the ports for the intake. Just a little rag here. Okay, that's just to prevent anything from falling inside. You might want to take a look with a camera, just make sure nothing fell in. And the next step is just to remove, like we did before. You don't actually have to remove the electrical connections. I'm not going to do that because I think there's enough room here. The wires are long enough on this side. On this side they weren't, to pull out the, the coils. So again, using an M8 with the wrench here, just unscrew the coils. I'll start them off. Just crack them first, and then should be good to go. Probably by hand. Okay, just removing the last of the screws here. These are hex screws. Okay, once I get these out, what you're going to do is you're going to use a flathead screwdriver, get it in, and you're going to lift up the coils. Easiest way to lift them. You can try with your hands, but need some leverage. So we're using some flathead screwdriver. Get in here and just very carefully, evenly on all sides, just try to lift the coils up. Gotta be very, very careful. It's just a rubber seal here that you just gotta overcome the friction. Okay, so we take this. All I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna even remove the electrical components. I'm just gonna take the coils and put them to the side, just like that. Okay, do the same thing for the other two. Hopefully I have enough room on this side. There's another wire that this goes down. Okay, so that one's gonna be fun to remove. Again, this one too. I'm gonna have to remove these electrical connections back here. Okay, so we got the coils and they're out. Okay, so we didn't have to remove the other one. It's actually okay. Okay. Now finally, after all that work, we can change the spark plug. Okay, so I don't have the tool that with an elbow, an extender with an elbow. So what I've done is I've jury-rigged two extenders that I have to remove the spark plug. Okay, that's one. Spark plug gap is way more than specified. That might be why this engine is a little bit low on power. This is the old plug. This is the new plug. Side by side. See, there's a big difference. Okay, so take this guy by hand. We're going to start with the first one. Actually, we'll start with the back one. How's that? Last, we're going to go in reverse order. Okay, so go like this. Push it in. And we're just going to turn them very gently. We want it to be, so just reverse a little bit. And then just turn them. I don't want to cross thread anything. I want to make sure that it's easy going in when I'm doing it. If you try to force it, you could end up cross threading and then you have a big problem. Okay, I'm on the last rear spark plug. I'm going to put that in. And then we're going to replace the coils. Okay, to torque it, I just have to take the pieces apart. Get my torque wrench. And set it to forward. Okay. It's already set to 14. Here we are. 14 Newton meters, because the spec is between, I think, 7 and 20. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set it to the spec and tighten until you feel the. There, see, done. This one has been torqued. Okay, so now I got to remove the spark plug, and I'm going to do the same thing. The spark plug holder, actually, the spark plug socket here. I didn't get it stuck in there. Okay, see, and I have to kind of separate it as it's halfway out, because I don't have an angled tool. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for all the other ones. Okay, so just put in and torque. Okay, now that I've torqued each of the spark plugs down to spec, it's time to start replacing the coils. Okay, so I'm going to start with the one that's already out. Okay, that's still attached. Put it in, and then grab the bolts, and then we'll be done that. We'll put the coils back, and then it's just a matter of reassembling in reverse order that we took apart the whole car, basically. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you the first one, and then we can move on to the next ones here. So grab the coil, put it back in, push. We'll get the bolts, put them back on, and we'll come back when everything is already put back together. Okay, for these ones where we removed you have to remember to put back the electronic controls on the coils. So what I think is probably easier to put the coils before you screw down, to put these Molex connectors here in and lock. Okay, you see, they hear a click, and then you just push the red button forward before you tie this down. Before you bolt it back in. It's just a little bit easier, I think, because you have more play with it with the bolt off. So I'm going to grab the other one. We're going to do the same thing. So before you tie it down, it might be easier. Okay. So what we do, go in, grab the coil, put the coil in place, or somewhat in place. Okay. And then grab the Molex connector and connect the coils to the electronic system, the electrical part of the, oops, okay. So I heard a click, and then you push the red tube in. Okay, and you can pull just to make sure that they're securely in place. Now, we just push these guys down. Make sure that it's right on top of the seal. There's like a rubber seal in there, in place. And now we're just gonna put the bolts back in. Okay, so I've gone and electrical components are in. Okay, and the bolts are down. Okay, so the coils, these coils are now. So now it's just a matter of, okay, we've completed the spark plug change, and now we're going to start putting the whole system back together. Okay, so this is the large screw, it's an M8. I'm going to grab my screwdriver, grab the M8. Actually, I can go straight from here if it will. Actually, it's probably faster to use the screwdriver. So I'm going to replace all the bolts just by hand right now, because we have to torque them down. There's a spec and a pattern to torque them. So first, hand tighten them, put them all in place, just until you feel some resistance. So we're going to put all of them in place. There's one large one, and there's 5 small bolts here that go in. Just hand tighten until you feel resistance. There's 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, and another 2 over here, 4, 5. Okay, so we're going to put those in place, and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, so when we put the manifold assembly back on, okay, the specs here for the intake manifold is between 8.5 and 11.5 Newton meters. Okay, so I'm going to set my torque wrench to that, and we're going to tighten them down. And there's a pattern to do it. It basically says here you start with bolt tightening sequence is the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so we're going to do that right now. We're going to start with the one in the front, tighten it down to 8.5 to 11 Newton meters. Okay, let's do that now. So we're going to start with the first one. Put it on our torque wrench. We're going to set it down to 8.5. Okay. Take it down to the lowest setting, basically. We can. I think the lowest one I have here, I have 10 here. So if I leave it at 10, here, Newton meters, should be okay. Okay, so if we follow the pattern, it says here, okay, the first one is this front one here. So we start with the front one, set it in place, and then turn it until you hear the you might want to put an extender on. I'm going to put an extension in here. Don't get in the way of the. So it's one. Put it on and go until the torque is reached. There, done. Okay, that's one. Number two is the one in the middle. The first one I'll put in here and tighten it until it reaches its. Okay. Reached. That's number two. Okay, 1, 2, 3 is this back one here. So we're gonna basically turn by hand still, okay, until we reach 10. Broke. Okay. 4 is the one right in front of it. Use my hand until I get enough. Broke. Done. Nice and smooth. 5 is the one underneath this wire loom here. Okay. So turn it, little jerking, okay. And then 6 is this back one here. We're following the steps that are outlined in the manual, in the shop manual. You can get them online. Okay, that's that. Okay. Okay, next thing we got to do is replace the support bracket, the screw back here. There's a screw back here that is that just supports the manifold to the body of the car here. Okay, so I'm gonna just screw that in, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I'm just replacing the, I'm not sure what this is called, but I'm replacing it because we're going in reverse order. So this piece has to be replaced, and then this blue hose has to be put back into place. So there's those 2 screws that have to go back in. I believe they're M8s. Okay, so I replaced this guy because he was in the way. Put back the blue clip, red clip here. Just rechecking everything that I touched. Okay, and now I'm going to put these clips back in. You just push them in. There's one here. Goes in place. It's a loom clip, a loom wire loom holder, and there's another one right there. It just goes back in. So a little bit of carb cleaner. Oops. Goes a long way. I'm going to spray it a little bit. Clean up the throttle body a little bit. Just give it a little clean so that. And it's, okay, we're just going to replace the throttle body, and it goes like this. See the numbers on the side? Go back in like this. Find its original position, and there are 5 screws. There's 4 here. We mount 2. Notice that there's a gasket in the back that keeps the seal, and we need to find the point where we mount it back on. Alright, next we're going to reinstall the air cleaner assembly. Okay, so you start like this. See these little clips? They basically just go into place here. You go in. Something's catching, okay, alright. This piece goes down. Get them locked into place. Yep, good. So these ones are down. There's some clips there. Something's catching here. We just have to move the throttle body a little bit down. Attach. Clip it. Okay, so I'm just tightening this bolt, the throttle body here. Tightening that so that it's all the way. You got to make sure that the rubber is all the way on top of the throttle body, and just tighten it by hand until it's hand. And I don't know if there's a spec here, but you want to got and it's closed. This hose clamp here just basically goes back into place. Push that in. Give it a good push. Here's my ATF dipstick right here. So the automatic transmission fluid, you can check here. Just basically take a look and put them on top. Pull the tab back, push in, and release. It's a spring load, and then give it a little tug to make sure that it's in place. Okay, so that guy is replaced. Now we have the mass airflow sensor. Okay, remember there's a little tab underneath. That's the locking mechanism. So we're going to push that in. So we're going to push it in here. Okay, and then once that's in, we push the red button in and give it a little tug. Make sure that it's in place. Okay, so we replaced that. Okay, the last step is going to be to put the engine cover back on. So what we're going to do is basically remove the oil cap and put the engine cover back up on just the way we took it. There's two holes here that the plastic from the cover goes back in. So we've got put the oil cap back on, engine cover is back on. Okay, now the only thing we have left to do is reinstall the battery, and we're done. Okay, so the last step is to just turn the car on and see if she starts. That's it. Thanks for watching.